and welcome to our Veterans Day observation at Stockton University. My name is Jason Babin. I'm the Director of Military and Veteran Services here. I am honored to be with you here today as we recognize our service members and our veterans, and remember the many sacrifices they have made. We would like to ask our student veteran, skipping that part, sorry. Please stand for the presentations of colors by the New Jersey 105th Civil Air Patrol. They will be accompanied by the Stockton a cappella singing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light
what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars to the perilous fight. For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave, the brave.
Thank you, and please be seated. At this time, we would like to recognize all of those among us who have served in the U.S. Armed Forces. To our active duty military personnel, our reservists, members of the National Guard, and all our veterans. It is your service and sacrifice that has kept our nation safe and free. If you are able, please stand and be recognized. Come on, Bob. Thank you. As you can tell, service members are always not very good at getting attention, but they do deserve this. Regardless of which branch you have served, whether it was in combat or in peace, no matter what your job was or how many years you served, you deserve the recognition and thanks of a grateful nation. We can never thank you enough for all that you have done. Those of us who have served in the military understand the importance of leadership. Here at Stockton, we are fortunate to have a leader who is committed to helping every student succeed. And because of his support, we have one of the finest military and veteran programs in the nation. Please join me in welcoming the president of Stockton University, Dr. Harvey Kesselman.
Good morning, and what a glorious morning it is. Thank you all for being here and attending Stockton's 2017 Veterans Day program. Before I begin, though, I'd like to recognize our Director of Military and Veteran Services, Mr. Jason Babin, because Jason, he recently stepped into this position, succeeding former Assistant Dean Tom O'Donnell, who recently retired after many years of service with Stockton. And now Jason, a veteran and soon-to-be doctor, as he completes his final phase of his doctoral program, brings a wealth of knowledge and firsthand experience to this position. We are so grateful to have him working with us and within our community. Can we please once again show our appreciation for Jason and the many others who orchestrated today's program? First, let me express to the veterans in attendance today and throughout our region and our nation, to all of the mighty men and women of valor, both past and present, who have proudly donned the uniform of courage, to those who have answered the call to be one of the few, the proud, to aim high, and to place service before self. The Stockton community extends our overwhelming sense of gratitude and heartfelt thankfulness to you for service, which has carried members far from their homes and loved ones to foreign lands and unknown territories. Service, which has called for immeasurable courage in the face of enormous opposition. Service, which has afforded the honor of brother and sisterhood and the privilege of camaraderie. And service, which may have required the greatest of personal surrender from you to safeguard the life and liberty of our republic. Yes, we are all deeply indebted to your nobility and your sacrifices for the love of country and community, and for this, we sincerely thank you, all the veterans here, for your service. On November 11, tomorrow, our nation will exercise an almost 100-year tradition of recognizing and paying tribute to those who have served our country in the military. In what began as Armistice Day back in November of 1919, this weekend will kick off scores of Veterans Day celebrations across the United States. No doubt, many of the nearly 20 million veterans across our nation will receive much praise and accolades from loved ones and strangers alike. Many will hear numerous expressions of earnest gratitude and appreciation, and well they should. They deserve it. Their bravery and allegiance to America has earned it. The famous World War II journalist Elmer Davis said, "This nation will remain the land of the free only so long as it is the home of the brave." And in America, the bravest of the brave faithfully serve or have served our country in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard every single day. Some veterans may have experienced the full breadth and agony of war, while others may have never seen a battlefield. Some may have fought in the wars of long ago, while others may have been discharged only yesterday. Some may have returned home without visible injury, and yet some of our fallen heroes returned home to be laid in their final place of rest. But one thing is certain, all have answered the call of duty and joined an elite group of individuals dedicated and committed to defending our democracy and preserving our freedom. All have sworn by oath to defend the Constitution of the United States and live by their respective creeds. All have strived to embody values characteristic of an American soldier, that of loyalty and honor, duty and courage, respect, integrity, and selfless service. Sometimes this fearless perception of military life can cause the non-military to think of our soldiers in vague generalities, without a face, individual hopes, or aspirations. But when choosing the profession of soldiering, one does not forfeit his or her humanity. Our troops are not robotic or void of emotions. No, soldiers are real people. They are mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, husbands and wives, and we mustn't forget this under any circumstance. Veterans have been described as having an unbeatable, unbreakable spirit who continue to exhibit those values learned in the military in their day-to-day lives, helping one another fight through unpredictable trials of adversity. I am reminded of this when I think of the story of friendship and support between two disabled veterans, Mike and Randy. Mike is a veteran of the United States Army. He joined the military early in life, following in the footsteps of his older sister. The youngest of 12 siblings, Mike's family was not well-to-do and had seen their fair share of struggles and hardships. Going into the military represented hope for a better life, a more solid footing. To Mike, being a soldier was as important as being a husband or a father, and he excelled at it. In a short span of time, he advanced in rank, been deployed on multiple occasions, married, and had a new baby. His military career had amounted to all he thought it would. Then, on a dreary and rainy morning, as he returned home from the base, just off of an early 12-mile road march, Mike fell asleep at the wheel of his car, only to awake on the other side of the road. Trying to avoid a major collision with an oncoming vehicle, he swerved back into his lane. To his misfortune, his tires slid on the muddy edge of the road, causing his vehicle to flip more than 6 times before landing upside down in the fields. Miraculously, he survived the accident, but not without sustaining a career-ending injury, rendering him paralyzed from the neck down. After a lengthy surgery, Mike regained some movement and some feeling in his arms and legs. The road to recovery felt absolutely impossible. He was well aware that his beloved days of a soldier was at an end, and even without the distinction of being injured in battle, immediately he began to grieve his loss. Struggling with fits of anger and depression, Mike lashed out at the VA staff and often gave up on his physical and occupational therapy, which made his recovery increasingly difficult. Until one day, the VA counselor advised him to meet Randy. Randy was a fellow Army soldier, also left paralyzed from the waist down from a vehicular accident 18 months prior. But Randy was different. He was visibly strong, had a command of his wheelchair, and a constructive outlook on life. Upon meeting, they shared many commonalities: their home state of North Carolina, the love of their family and the military, the similarities of their accidents, and their firm belief that Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player of all time. This camaraderie was the basis of a newly found friendship and marked the beginning of Mike's recovery. In the spirit of never leaving a fallen comrade, Randy managed to successfully inspire Mike to hope and believe for a better life once again. It was that connection, that forever bond, that enabled the healing process to take place. Since then, Mike's recovery has been nothing short of phenomenal. Regaining some usage of his arms and legs, Mike is considered a walking quadriplegic and living a very successful post-active duty life with a new career as a youth counselor. As for Randy, known for his fierce competitiveness, Johnny R. Holland, better known as Quadzilla to his competition, has been an award-winning athlete in the National Veterans Wheelchair Games for the past 20 years. He continues to help fellow veterans transition from military to civilian life and inspires veterans all over to lead active and fulfilling lives. To this day, both men maintain that unbreakable bond, the strongest of friendship since their first meeting. Like Mike, the transition from the military to civilian life can be challenging to veterans for a variety of good reasons. But like Randy, we can all do our part, all of us, and should do our part in making that transition as seamless as possible. At Stockton, here, we are deeply committed to the success of our service members and our student veterans and proudly assist them in their pursuit of higher education. We provide them with a number of support services and resources with the aim of decreasing barriers and easing the burden of transition into academia. Our dedication of providing an atmosphere of academic excellence and structural support to active duty and prior service members has not gone unrecognized. We wear the distinction of being ranked as one of the top 20 schools in the nation for veterans by Military Times, U.S. News and World Report, and Online College Plan. With the special designation of being veteran-friendly, we will continue. We will enhance to provide financial, emotional, and educational support in our efforts to do our collective parts as we once again say thank you all to all of our veterans. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Kesselman. We thank you for being with us today and for the constant and enthusiastic support of the Stockton community. Our next speaker is a U.S. Army combat veteran who served two tours of duty in Iraq. He is a student here at Stockton, and he serves as president of the Student Veteran Organization. Please welcome Frank Atwood.
Thank you, Jason. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending today's Veteran Day ceremony here at Stockton University. As Jason said, I'm Frank Atwood. I'm the Student Veterans Organization president. I'm honored to be speaking with you today on this such important occasion. We're here to honor our service members and remember their sacrifices they have made and the courage it takes to defend honor, duty, and country. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, fighting in World War I, it ended in 1918. Originally, it was declared Armistice Day. Just 8 years after the end of the war, they honored those veterans of World War I. In 1954, after the World War II and Korean War, it was renamed to what's known as Veterans Day, to honor all veterans who served America at a time of war. So what is a veteran? Simplest definition of a veteran is someone who has served in the military. That's very true. My favorite definition, though, comes from U.S. Marine Corps retired Lieutenant Colonel George Goodson. He stated that a veteran is someone who at one point wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America for the amount of up to and including their life. Today, we honor all of our veterans who have placed their lives on the line for our freedoms. The service members we honor today, men and women coming from all walks of life, who unselfishly heard the call of duty and they answered it. They were ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways in extreme times. Many of them volunteered. Many of them drafted. They left their families, their homes, and their lives to fight on distant battlefields, not for recognition or fame, or even the honor that we bestow on them today. Millions of Americans have fought and died on those battlegrounds here and abroad to defend our freedoms and way of life. Today, our troops continue to make the ultimate sacrifice. And even as we lose troops in combat, more Americans step forward and say, I'm ready to serve. They continue to follow in the footsteps of generations of fine Americans who answered the call for our great nation. So I'd like to take this time for everybody to recognize those who have served our country. Thank you for your service. I'd also like to take this time to thank the families of these brave men and women for their service here at home, keeping their families together and sacrificing their time with the service member so that the service member could serve our country. Thank you as well. Also, my Marine Corps buddies would not let me get away with this if I didn't tell them that today is the 10th, and it's the 242nd birthday for the Marine Corps. So happy birthday, Devil Dogs. So thank you all for coming out and honoring our service members today. Enjoy the rest of the ceremonies put on by our great university. Airborne, all the way.
Okay, thank you, Frank. I now have the honor of introducing a very special group here today. Their mission is to foster an environment of goodwill and camaraderie among combat wounded veterans, to promote patriotism, to support legislative initiatives, and most importantly, to provide services to all veterans and their family. Please join me in welcoming Joseph Bellardo and Norman Glover of the Military Order of the Purple Heart.
Good morning. I'm Joe Bellardo, and coming up to the podium is Norman Glover. I'm the New Jersey State Commander of the Military Order of the Purple Heart, and Norman is the Senior Vice Commander of the Purple Heart. It is an honor to be here at Stockton University to declare you a Purple Heart veteran-friendly university. But before I start, I would like the following people front and center, because we have a tradition with the Purple Hearts of handing out challenge coins. So the next time I come for dinner, if you don't have your coin, you buy dinner. If I could have the president of the university, Dr. Harvey Kesselman, Jason Babin, Patrick Carney, Ashley Jones, and Pedro Santana front and center. I got a couple of them. Okay. Our challenge coin is from our Purple Heart Chapter 10 of Middlesex County. It has the Purple Heart on the front and all the military units on the back. So it's my honor to present these to the following. He can't hand. He's only got one arm. God bless all of you. You be seated. Thank you. Second thought, if they don't have their, oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. If they don't have their coin, they'll buy everybody around the drinks. A little bit about the Purple Heart. The award of the Purple Heart is the oldest historical award given out in military history. It dates back 235 years, and it started in the waning days of the American Revolution and is the oldest medal, as I said, in military history. On August 7th, 1782, General George Washington established what was called the Badge of Military Merit. It was the first Purple Heart, a Purple Heart-shaped piece of silk edged in a narrow banding of silver with the word merit stitched across it. It was the equivalent of being a colonel back then if you were an enlisted man. You had the same privileges as an officer. You could eat in the officer's headquarters or anything just by having that badge. A little different nowadays. In 1931, General Douglas MacArthur reopened the Badge of Merit because he thought it should be something more rewarding than just a little piece of cloth. So he wanted a metal badge hung by a ribbon in some kind of shape. He didn't care. So he commissioned a woman named Elizabeth Will, who worked for him, to design the Purple Heart. And she designed the present-day Purple Heart that is still used and will be used for military history from now on. On May 28, 1932, General MacArthur presented the first Purple Heart medals to wounded veterans from World War I on Temple Hill in New York. The sad part was he was only able to find approximately 200 of them because you didn't have the communications you have now. The Purple Heart is the only medal that is awarded to servicemen whether you're wounded or killed in action. If you're killed in action, the medal is given to your family. It makes no difference what branch of service that you are, we all get the same medal. It is a universal bond, a brother in arms, that every veteran understands when he sees the medal worn on their chest. If you could see inside each individual medal, you would see something that only Purple Heart recipients feel and sometimes don't want to tell their family or friends, or even tell you about their dreams they have of being in combat. The feeling of pain, the agony of bullets being stabbed by bayonets and shrapnel wounds, the thousands of exploding enemy artillery shells that landed all around them, shredding of trees, killing and wounding their best friends, or the thought of stepping on a landmine or throwing a hand grenade, or what it felt like when you shot a rifle and it kicked you in the shoulder, or maybe throwing hand grenades or telling about your loss of limbs or your friend's loss of limbs, and finally death all around them and what it was like to lose your best friend. Those unanswered prayers, the thought of fears and tears, excuse me, and the almighty adrenaline rush. Most of all, you would see in these men and women bravery, courage, heroism, and most of all, the love for their country and the willing to give their lives for freedom. And how, nowadays, the American soldier is deployed many, many times. The total Americans who have been wounded and given the Purple Heart since World War I to present day in the line of freedom is an astounding 1,789,367 Americans who were wounded or killed in defense of your freedom, a number that sadly keeps growing. Like their civilian counterparts, veterans want to come home, get a new life, start a family, and seek higher education, like the university we're here today. They hope that the university they choose to attend has a special outreach program or a veterans program they can sign up for, and someone who will give them guidance and counseling. As a New Jersey State Commander of the Purple Hearts, I gave my board a mission. I gave Norman a mission. Reach out and recognize colleges, universities, towns, cities, and boroughs in the state of New Jersey who exemplify an outstanding veterans programs. They want to get commitment for the veterans, support of the veterans, and a general concern of their well-being in the educational matters of their life and their family. Veterans seeking higher education need guidance, understanding, new leadership, a friendly environment, and a future that will help them get a job and a placement. And Stockton University is what veteran wants to go to. You exemplify everything a veteran wants. After our review of your university veterans programs, we sat with the members that I introduced to you today, who you already know, and you meet and exceed the requirements of being considered Purple Heart friendly and veteran friendly. It is wonderful when we had our meeting and saw your brochures, your online commitment to veterans, what you do for them. It's unbelievably outstanding. The university has become a student's second home. You don't realize that school is your second home. Some people live on campus, some people don't live on campus. And it represents a community of not just students, but of the veterans community and Purple Hearters. In a true Purple Heart tradition, Stockton University exemplifies what they call in the military a esprit de corps, a college that all veterans want to go to. So we'd like to start by presenting your college, your university, with some items. The first item would be the parking sign. One of these. Oh, hold on, Norman. Hold on. Bear with me a second. Norman has a little problem. Norman tore the tendons and muscles off his elbow. This is your new parking spot, so the next time Norman and I come, we'll have our challenge coin, and we're looking for that parking sign.
Do I need to give you the coin for that? This is beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
The next what we have for your Veterans Community Center is a Veterans Community sign. So you can put that in the office or anywhere else you'd like.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank
This
you.
is really good.
Thirdly, I'm going to need Jason's help with this. We'd like to present you for your flagpole a Purple Heart flag. This way.
There you go. That's great. That will go on our main poles. Okay?
it down because you got to hold it.
You got it.
We have more.
You got more? Okay.
Okay. There are no words that can express how I, as the Purple Heart Commander, and Norman, the Senior Vice Commander, and the other Purple Hearters in the state feel about your university. We'd like to proclaim Stockton University a Purple Heart friendly. The proclamation reads as follows, presented by the Military Order of the Purple Heart. Whereas the Purple Heart signifies the sacrifices made by many generations of America's soldiers and is a symbol of their willingness to sacrifice all to protect and defend our great country, awarded to military personnel who have been wounded or killed in action by an instrument of war. And whereas it is duly noted that Stockton University acknowledges the sacrifices of Purple Heart recipients and all veterans who fought for our freedom, and believe it is important that we acknowledge them for their courage and show them the honor and support earned. And whereas Stockton University, with its continual guidance and tutelage to all veterans, exemplifies true patriotism with its support to awardees of the Purple Heart and all veterans who put their lives at risk in service of defending our country. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Military Order of the Purple Heart, State of New Jersey, that honor and gratitude be bestowed upon Stockton University, Galloway Township, Atlantic County, New Jersey, recognizing them as a Purple Heart University in the state of New Jersey, adopted the 10th day of November, 2017, presented by Joe Bellardo.
I have to just say something about this. Ken Stowe, Peter Mercado, Gene Jones, Gloria Maestas, and some of the founding members of the institution were veterans. Stockton opened up with about at least 25% of the students were Vietnam veterans. Ken Stowe, Peter, they helped establish the Stockton that we know. They were extraordinarily influential in designing the buildings, but creating this sense of camaraderie, the sense of community that we live with today. Ken, Peter, Jean, Gloria, this is for you.
Again, thank you all, and God bless you, and happy birthday to the Marines.
Some of you already know who I am, Norm Glover. Stockton has demonstrated far beyond what many others have attempted to do. We look at many schools of various levels, they don't come up and make the grade. This one far exceeds. You can be very proud of the school you go to, the school you are part of, whether you're employed, whether you're a student, makes no difference. You're in a great organization here, and I expect to see it that way for a long, long time. Thanks again.
Thank you, Norm and Joe. Thank you for honoring us with this recognition. This concludes the first portion of our Veterans Day ceremony, and we invite everyone to join us now in Veterans Park. We are here today to honor our heroes, to remember their achievements, their courage, and their dedication, and to say thank you for their service on behalf of a grateful nation. Although we honor all living service members and veterans today, let us remember those who are no longer with us. Please join us in a moment of silence as we lay the wreath and honor the memory of the fallen.
Sing grace, how sweet the sound that saves.
Thank you. Please give a round of applause for Stockton a cappella. Phenomenal group here. Thank you for being a part of our Veterans Day celebration. Now I would like to introduce my colleague, Karen Matzinger, Assistant Director of Counseling Service, who will reflect on her work with our military students and veterans. Please welcome Karen.
Hello, everyone. As many of you know, I'm the counselor who works with student veterans on our campus. Last summer, I was asked to speak briefly on Veterans Day by Jason Babin. He said the topic should be reflection. Reflection on Veterans Day. It seems like a better topic to Memorial Day to me. I tried to get out of this, but he was ready for me. He said, I'm asking you because you know them the best. So, reflection. So many people ask me what it's like to work with veterans, as if there's one story that would explain what it's like to be me in my position, as if there's one story that best defines what made a veteran who they are today, or one story that explains the circumstance of their collective past. It's always a difficult question to answer because I actually know a good amount of student veterans, therefore I know that there's not one story. I've given these questions, who are they? What are they like? A lot of thought, and I think I can explain to you exactly who they are. Think of our student veterans, make that all veterans, as mirrors. If you look in a mirror, you see your reflection. Like a mirror, our military also provides us with a reflection. After all, they are the reflection of who we are as Americans. They are a diverse population from every walk of life who at some point decided to join the military and take on the responsibility of defending our country and protecting our way of life. That's it. That's what you see when you stand back and you look into the mirror that we know as our armed forces. However, say you have the opportunity to stand very close. I mean nose close against that mirror. Only from the position of nose against the glass can you see the true essence of a mirror. Most people don't know this, but when you get close to a mirror, it's actually green. You see, mirrors reflect all colors. However, green is the color with the most variation to the human eye. There's many, many shades of green, just as there's many, many shades of people who serve. There is no cookie-cutter example of the people who serve. They're diverse as all the greens that reflect in a mirror when you get close enough to really see them. I stand close. I really see them. I know them as individuals, not the mirror's reflection, but the close-up variations of green. I know them in all their forms. I know the 18-year-olds in the dorm, and I know the 60-year-olds that sleep in their car. They're Christian, Muslim, and Jewish. I've watched some of them lose their faith and others regain it. They come from so many backgrounds that I constantly have to stay on my toes to remember each person's history because it matters so much more than their military service. Funny thing about mirrors, when you put two mirrors in front of each other, they create a tunnel, a seemingly number of reflections. As light bounces back and forth from one mirror to the next, the mirror's reflective capacity gradually weakens. If someone is looking at the reflection produced by a mirror tunnel, the light waves have already been reflected several times over before reaching their eyes, thus making the greenish color of the mirror's material more prominent. This is such a perfect analogy of how I spend my days at Stockton. I sit with all of these diverse and wonderful people, and I listen to their stories unfold. The light of their being bounces back and forth between us as the capacity to misinterpret each veteran is, as a person gradually weakens and who they are as an individual becomes more prominent. I am so privileged. So few people get the opportunity to press their nose against the glass and see others' true self so deeply and clearly. I can only extend this privilege to each of you in some small antidotes, but I will try to make you see. So, the student who blurts out in class, "I love my guns," is the student who, for an entire year, slept with a gun tucked in his sleeping bag. His only sense of security in a strange place so far from home. He ate with that gun. He walked to the bathroom with that gun. His superiors continuously told him that that gun was life itself. And to that student, it was true because he survived. That student who limps and stutters, the one who's given you another excuse for forgetting an assignment, he was smiling as he described to me how he begged doctors to remove part of his mangled hand. He smiles as he talks about being shot or stabbed or gassed. He smiles because it happened to him and not his friends sleeping next to him and not to his children and not to yours. That student who seems tired, so much more exhausted than his peers. An hour before class, he politely leaned over my computer, opened maps, and showed me the crater that was left from the IED that changed his life forever. And that little girl in the back of the class who is attending college because she wants to work with children someday, she's already raised 2 beautiful children of her own. However, unlike many other mothers, when her children were small, she was driving Humvees around landmines in order to deliver much-needed supplies to troops. And so on, and so on. The marriages, the divorces, the family fights and academic awards, the babies, the nightmares, the excitement and the boredom, the beards and the boots. I sit and I listen to tragedy and survival and strength and regret. I see it all through their eyes, and it's beautiful because they're beautiful. They're the best reflection of who we are as a people. I press my nose against the mirror, and I revel in who we are as people and the understanding of why some of us choose to defend America. Thank you so much for your service and for bravely sharing such a huge part of who you are.
Thank you, Karen, for that message. That was beautiful. I know we're very chilly, and we will be done in just a few minutes, so bear with me for a little bit longer. I'd next like to invite Dan Murray up to let us, okay? A service member, a veteran, and a member of our student veteran organization.
Thank you, Jason. I'll be reading an excerpt from Kipling's The Last of the Light Brigade. They went without bands or colors, a regiment 10 files strong. They looked for the master singer who had crowned them all in his song. In waiting, his servant order, by the garden gate they stand, a desolate little cluster, the last of the Light Brigade. They stove to stand to attention, to straighten the toil bowed back. They drilled on an empty stomach, the loose-knit files fell slack. With stopping of weary shoulders and garments tattered and frayed, they shambled into his presence, the last of the Light Brigade. The old troop sergeant, who was the spokesman, and begging your pardon, he said, "You rode old Light the brigade, sir. Here's all that isn't dead. And it's all come true, what you wrote, sir, regarding the month of hell, for we've all, for we all of us nigh to the workhorse, and we thought we'd call it and tell. No, thank you. We don't want food, sir, but couldn't you take and write a sort to be continued, and see next page, oh, the fight. We think that someone has blundered, and couldn't you tell them how? You wrote we were heroes once, sir. Please write we are starving now. The poor little army departed, limping and lean and forlorn. And the heart of the master singer grew hot with the scorn of scorn. And he wrote from the wonderful verses that swept the land like flame, till the fatted souls of the English were scourged with the thing they called shame. They sent a cheek to the felon that sprang from the Irish bog. They healed the spavined cab horse. They housed the homeless dog. And they sent You may call me a liar, whom felon and beast were paid a cheek for enough to live on the last of the Light Brigade. O 30 million English that babble of England's might, behold, there are 20 heroes who lack their food tonight. Our children's children are lisping, honor the charge they made, and we leave to the streets and the workhouses the charge of the Light Brigade. Have a great day. Thank you. Marine Corps birthday.
All right, thank you, Dan. So we are just about finished. Today, people throughout our country are coming together to remember, to honor, and to give thanks to those who have served our country. Our gathering is just one small spark in the flame of pride that burns across the nation today and every day. Your presence here today, and that of the people all across America, is a tribute to our troops and military families. Thank you for being here. God bless you, God bless our troops and veterans, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Our first speaker is going to be Dr. Pedro Santana, Dean of Students and another great leader in Stockton University supporting our veterans and our military service members. Please give a round of applause for Pedro.
Thank you, Jason. Good afternoon. It is afternoon, right? Yes. Yes, good afternoon. And what a wonderful afternoon it is to be here today. As was stated, for those of you that do not know me, my name is Dr. Pedro Santana, and I have the distinct pleasure of serving as the Dean of Students here at Stockton University. And as Dean, one of the areas that works on behalf of students diligently has been the Office of Veteran Affairs, or as we call it now, the Office of Military and Veteran Services. John F. Kennedy, in his address to the nation on Veterans Day, November 11th, 1961, said, "Today we are here to celebrate and to honor and to commemorate the dead and the living. The young men who in every war since this country began have given testimony to their loyalty to their country and their own great courage. I do not believe that any nation in the history of the world has buried soldiers further from its native soil than we as Americans, or buried them closer to the towns in which they grew up. We celebrate this Veterans Day for a very few minutes, a few seconds of silence, and then this country's life goes on. But I think it is most appropriate that we recall on this occasion and on every other moment when we were faced with great responsibilities, the contribution and the sacrifice with so many men and women and their families that they have made in order to permit this country to occupy its present position of responsibility and freedom. And in order to permit us to gather here together, before commencing any commemoration, we must provide an opportunity for a description of the signs, the symbols, and the allegory associated with that which has been done and will be done for the ceremonies. So several years back, as we began on this venture of doing more to commemorate our veterans here at Stockton University and to serve our veterans who have paid the ultimate price in many occasions, we'd made a deliberate attempt at creating a ritual of sorts here at Stockton for our veterans ceremonies. And the ritual was one in which we laid out the ceremonies in 3 distinct stations. And the final station would have been the culmination here, the fourth station, or the celebration. The first of the stations began in the front of the campus center, Stockton University's home and living room to the world. As you could see in the distance beyond the parking lot, there was an open expanse, an environment for growth where all are welcomed. especially those who believe in improving themselves through the pursuit of education. The second of these stations, which because of the weather today, we chose not to do it out there and give you some opportunity to warm up in here, would have been right there in our Independence Plaza. And as you walk through our Independence Plaza, you will find the largest two-story representation of the Declaration of Independence for all the world to see. The Declaration itself serves as a constant reminder of the ideals and values that our noble, valiant veterans have sworn to protect, and many of which have paid the ultimate sacrifice. In Independence Plaza, we also have Independence Walk, which serves as a constant reminder of the physical manifestation of the long and hard journey that we have collectively marched towards our freedom. Each brick represents the contributions of Americans who came from foreign soils and were immigrants themselves and have suffered and have believed in a better future for themselves and their fellow neighbor. Each brick on our Independence Plaza also serves as a stark and powerful reminder to all here present and those around the world that as Americans we must never forget not only the sacrifices of our veterans, but most importantly, the sacrifices of their widows and orphans. The third and final station is the one in which we were actually at, which is our Veterans Memorial Park. Our Veterans Memorial Park is situated in the innermost part of our campus. And it was done so intentionally so as to provide a sanctuary, a haven, a place of protection for the memory of all those that have fallen in the service of this great nation, but also as a representation of a cornerstone that the campus itself rests upon. 3 stations, each with their own unique symbolisms and associated allegory. Representative of the 3 branches of our government, we the people, that these brave men and women, our service men and women, have sworn to protect. This is Stockton University, and the previous paragraphs spoken have laid the framework for what Veterans Day means to us here at Stockton. Now I would like to call forward Stockton SVO student Caleb Taylor to provide his remarks. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Caleb Taylor, and I'm the Public Affairs Officer for the Stockton SVO. No one told me that this was a celebration station, or I would have wrote something funnier, so my bad. Next year, I guess. So in my past life, I was a rifleman in the greatest infantry unit this world has ever seen, Echo Company of the 2nd Battalion of the 8th Marine Regiment. It is an honor to be up here speaking to you today, especially today, because like Frank said out front, this is November 10th, and this is the 242nd birthday of the United States Marine Corps. Generally, I make it a rule. Sorry, Mom. I'm usually blackout drunk by noon on Marine Corps birthday. That's when they asked me to talk today. Originally, I just said no. I was like, there's no way that I can do that. But I'm not drunk. Here I am. Sorry. Karen, if she's in here, you don't have to hold your breath. Normally, whenever I get up here and talk, she holds her breath the whole time. I won't swear. My mom's here today. All right. So in January of 2011, my company deployed to what was at that time the most dangerous place in the world, Sangin, Afghanistan. It was a place where roadside bombs and IEDs were everywhere. You couldn't walk 100 yards outside of your outpost without running into some kind of buried explosive device. Ambushes were all over the place. There were Chechen snipers reportedly. It was a hot place, hot time to be alive, hot time to be there. And it was difficult. It was harrowing. At the time, I was only 20, so it really wasn't that harrowing in my head. When I look back now, I'm like, man, holy crap. But at the time, I was like, whatever. This is just normal. This is life. For an infantryman, it was a dream to be there at that time. But when we came back from that deployment in August of that year, we were told there's going to be a police escort waiting for us at the airport. We'll be able to turn all our gear in at the airport so that when we get back to Camp Lejeune, our parents and our families won't have to wait to see us. And it's a pretty big spectacle coming back from deployment. My parents were watching YouTube videos. They were all excited. And, we got there. And in August in southeastern North Carolina, it's pretty much as hot and humid as it is in south central Afghanistan in August. We didn't have a truck to collect our gear, and we didn't have a police escort. And I know, it's like, oh no, here's another millennial complaining about not getting things that people tell me he's going to get. But it wasn't really like that. It was just like, whatever. We're on school buses anyway. Nobody cares. But these Vietnam veteran bikers came, and they escorted us from the airfield all the way to our barracks on Camp Lejeune. And when we got to the armory, the major who was leading the bikers said to our first sergeant that, when he came back from Vietnam, people spit on him at the airport, and he would do anything to make sure that that didn't happen again to anyone else. And that has stuck with me since then. Yeah, so my bad. The celebration station, I know. I'm way off track. When you go off to war and you lead men into combat before you're old enough to purchase alcohol, it can be easy to assume that you've reached the pinnacle of your life, that this is the coolest thing that you've ever done, you're ever going to do. And honestly, truthfully, it's understandable to rest on your laurels at that point. But that's not the end of your story. You got to keep pushing. As veterans, we have a responsibility to our country, to our community, to our family, and to ourselves. We have to be a voice for the voiceless, a protector for those too weak to protect themselves, a guiding light in the darkest of times, and a beacon of hope for the hopeless. May you never stop striving to be the best version of yourself that you can be. May you constantly endeavor to make the world around you a better place. May you always remember and honor the sacrifices of those who came before you, and may we never forget the fallen. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Caleb. Our final speaker today is a very special person. She's our Student Senate President, Victoria Dombrowski. Please give her a round of applause for Victoria.
Hello, everyone. So I'm pretty sure I'm in between you and lunch, so I'm going to try and keep this as brief as I can. On behalf of the Student Senate and the students of Stockton University, I'd like to just start off by saying thank you. Here at Stockton, as you've heard, we value our veterans and do whatever we can to serve them in the way that they so bravely served our country. Our veterans and their families have made incredible sacrifices each and every day in order to protect our freedoms. While words will never be enough to thank them for all that they do, it's important that we take every opportunity we can to express our gratitude for their dedicated service. Events like this, today, hope to do just that. Be sure that you say hello to a veteran who might be a classmate, friend, professor, or even a stranger, and thank them for their selfless acts and for defending the country that we call our home. Thank you.
One of the things that is important to us is teamwork and leadership, and we cannot do this on our own. Ashley and myself, work in the Office of Military and Veteran Services, but there's so many people here that support us with our mission and value the service members. Everybody here values, but they go out of their way to truly assist, our service members and our veterans. And they don't often get recognized. While I'd like to call out everybody here, there are a few people that we would truly like to identify as being that person that is there for our service members 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So who's our first? Okay. So we do have a few awards that we would like to give out. This person is truly a leader, a student leader, somebody that has given so much of her time, so much of her ability to truly help not just our organization, but me personally with our program, with our initiative. I've had the opportunity to work with her for several years now. I've had the opportunity to travel to a different country with her, which was an unbelievable experience. And she is an unbelievable person. She just recently graduated, and I see so much positive future for her. I truly expect to see her name in lights someday, and truly getting the recognition that she deserves. So this is only a small portion of what I expect in her future, but I would like to ask Jessica Layton to come up here now to be honored for her service. She doesn't like the limelight, if you're not aware. She definitely does not like this, but she truly does deserve this for her effort. And again, it's just a small token of our appreciation. So. Only a few seconds. Oh, of course. She wants to hurry up off the stage right away. So. Our next person, our next person, I know who they are, I'm just seeing the names right now. So this person, I've only worked with her for a short time, but she's been here longer than I have been here. But she has been there ever since I've taken on the role of director. I've only been director for about 6 months now, so if you haven't noticed, I'm still a little bit new into the position. But this person has truly helped whenever I've called her, and she has been there providing services to our military and veteran students, every single day. She goes beyond her job description and beyond the duties of her position. So I would now like to ask Jennifer Robin to come up here and be recognized for her support and assistance with our military and veteran students. Surprise!
Thanks, Jason. Aw, thank you. I do it because I love you.
I know. Yes, and it is important to note that they do it without award, but we are giving out awards now. So.
Yes, I do because I love you.
Okay. So the next person, he has been a part of this program well beyond since I've been here. He has been a true member of our community as well as a member of the local community and has given so much of his time, so much of his effort to further the support and assistance that the federal government, the state government, our local agencies really give to our service members. He does not like to be recognized, obviously, but we are going to do it just the same. And he was trying to run out of here before, yeah, it's you. He was trying to disappear on us, and I had to beg him to stay for another few minutes. So without further ado, Bob Ford, please come up here and be recognized for your hundreds of hours and effort for what you do here. Okay, we're almost done. So our last award, no, we're not done with the program, we're done with the awards. Our last award goes to, obviously, some new members that have become a part of our community. They've been there for years, but now we are truly part of a family now. You probably saw them this morning when they presented us with a very true honor for our community and being recognized as a Purple Heart institution. While this may only say Joe on it, Norman, you are just as important, obviously. So I'd like to ask now Joe Bellardo to come up and receive this award.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Oftentimes, we do give to our members of our community, but every once in a while, we are honored by people that actually give to us. It does happen quite a bit, but when it does happen, we truly like to honor that person that is giving to us. Many of our service members go on to great and wonderful things, and they truly do give back to us, whether they give back with their time, they give back with their effort, or they give back with, whatever they can, even sometimes financially. So I'd now like to call our very special guest, James Ryan, up here to present Stockton University with a truly great gift. James, I'll let you say a few minutes of your time. Here, I'll take that from you.
Thank you. 7 years ago, I walked into Dean Standby's office. I seen Tom O'Donnell first, and I told him I'm coming back from surgery, from coming home from being hurt. I was really worried, and I was scared. And a veteran should never have to be scared. I was about to lose my truck. I was about to lose my apartment. I lost my apartment when I got out of the hospital. Ready, Vet, Go got me into place. And then I got hit again, and then my truck rolled 6 times. When the truck rolled and I drove myself to the hospital, because the ambulance took a half an hour to get there, and I came back to school 3 days later because I'm a dedicated student and a U.S. Marine, I came in and I seen him. And I called him first and said, I have some problems. I said, and they're not none of my own making. He said, you come to me. I'm here. You're safe now. Today, I'm making the Veterans Emergency Fund. It's a James F. Ryan III Veterans Emergency Fund. And I'm giving $1,850 today to the school to start the fund. It funds with $1,750 for this year, $100 for every year I'm in school, and $1,000 every year after that I'm practicing. I'm going to give $12,000 to this fund. At first, that was my goal. As of today, I've increased the amount to $25,000 in 12 years. I will give 4 scholarships. Four scholarships will be awarded, once in the 4th year, 2 in the 6th year, 3 in the 8th year, and then 4 in the 12th year, every year after that, for posterity. 9% of this fund is going to be disposable, so if a veteran came to you like me and they need help and can't pay it back, they can still get help. And I'll put approximately $6,800 in the fund after the 12th year every year until I'm not breathing anymore. Why am I doing this? Because I'm Jim Ryan, and I can. I'm a U.S. Marine. I'm coming to give back and show my Osprey pride, because when I was here, we're a family, and we could ask any veteran for help or anybody in your class to help you with something. If there's something wrong, you go to them and you tell them, and they're right there behind you. And today, the 242nd Marine Corps birthday, there's no better time than the present to go in and make the dent and give back to your community. Stockton, I'm proud to be a top graduate of 2015. Now practicing with Amethyst and ESAP Healthcare as the Director of Military Mental and Behavioral Health. I will now move to the VA, where I will take that same position after I graduate from Walden University with a military master's in medical social work. I will be getting my doctorate in art therapy, social work policy, and military medical management for social work from the University of UPenn. And when I do, and I go there, I'm going to give them every bit of my effort. My time's not mine, it's theirs now. I want to thank you for letting me come to this school and be part of this community, because every day I come here, I feel like I matter. God bless you all. Show your Osprey pride, and take your education very seriously, because when you get out there, it's what you know, and then it's who you know. God bless the Marine Corps, and God bless Stockton. Hoorah.
We can get a picture right over here, if that's all right.
Gotcha. Can you hold this up?
Yeah, we both hold it. Okay. Obviously, you can tell, and everybody here can tell, that Stockton University truly makes an impact on our students. It makes an impact on our community members, and it makes an impact on everybody that works here and comes through our doors. Everything you do matters to us. Your success after here, when you move on to your job, when you move on to have your families, things like that, everything matters to us. And you will always truly have a place here. And we've carved out a specific place for our military and veteran students, and we are truly honored every single time a service member chooses to come to Stockton. That is no greater honor for an institution, is when they say, this is the school for me. And every single year, our population has grown. And it's grown because of everybody here. Everybody that has come through this door, everybody that has worked here, every student that has come through here, it is all because of you all. That being said, this does conclude our Veterans Day celebration. We do have a mic up here. If anybody would like to share some words, their experiences, we will have an open mic. But this does conclude our presentation. Please definitely have some more food, interact, mingle, talk, but I'll be around here. So thank you again for coming. Thank you, every service member here that has served and is now, a part of our community. Thank you so much.